On May 27, 1991, Milwaukee police found a naked, bleeding 14-year-old boy on the street. A man came out to meet them. He was calm, he was articulate. He told them the boy was his adult boyfriend. They believed him. They walked the boy back to the apartment. He was already drugged. He died that night. His name was Konerak Sinthasomphone, and he was the 13th victim. The responding officers accepted the suspect's story completely. They did not verify his claims, they never checked his identification, and they conducted no independent investigation of the apartment. They took the word of a stranger and left a child in his custody. Dahmer operated in plain sight for well over a decade, his survival enabled by a compounding cascade of institutional apathy. The cultural narrative often paints serial killers as secretive phantoms operating from the shadows. The reality here is entirely different. Dahmer was an identifiable, registered offender living a highly visible life within his community. He kept a routine. He lived in a densely populated apartment building and worked the night shift as a mixer at the local Ambrosia chocolate factory. His day-to-day existence was entirely ordinary. Over 13 years, 17 people vanished. They were sons, brothers, and friends. They had futures and families who searched for them and noticed their absence immediately. The missing were predominantly young, working-class gay men of color, Black, Hispanic, and Laotian, which forces a difficult question. How does a convicted sex offender murder 17 marginalized people over more than a decade without a single safeguard stopping him? In September 1988, Dahmer offered a 13-year-old Laotian boy $50 to pose for photographs, then drugged and sexually assaulted him. He was arrested and pleaded guilty. The justice system handed a known predator a remarkably lenient sentence: 1 year in a work release program and 5 years of probation. He was permitted to live in the community under the condition of strict supervision. That supervision failed entirely. The probation officer assigned to monitor his reintegration never conducted a single physical inspection of his apartment. This timeline visualizes the depth of that failure. It charts Dahmer's approved probation check-ins against the actual dates of his active crimes. Official compliance reports were filed and approved during the exact periods when multiple murders were occurring inside the home no one visited. Routine bureaucratic box-checking replaced actual vigilance. The paperwork provided a shield of legitimacy that allowed the violence to escalate undetected. In May 1990, Dahmer moved into apartment 213 of the Oxford Apartments. Almost immediately, the surrounding residents began reporting severe, horrific odors emanating from his unit. When confronted by building management and police, Dahmer offered a simple explanation. His freezer was broken and meat was spoiling inside. Despite the volume and persistence of these complaints from multiple neighbors over several months, no authority figure ever forced entry to verify his story or physically investigate the source of the smell. The neighbors raising these alarms were largely low-income and working-class people of color. Their concerns were logged, accepted as complaints, and ultimately ignored. This pattern of dismissal culminated on May 27th. Sandra Smith and Nicole Childress, two young Black women, found Konerak Sinthasomphone bleeding on the street. They recognized the child was in extreme danger and aggressively intervened, demanding the police take action. The officers dismissed the distressed Black women and ignored the incoherent Laotian child. They chose to place their trust entirely in the calm, polite white male suspect. The institutional blindness held firm until July 22, 1991. That night, a 32-year-old Black man named Tracy Edwards was handcuffed and threatened with a knife inside apartment 213. Edwards fought back, struck his captor, and bolted out the door. Running down the street with a handcuff still dangling from his wrist, Edwards flagged down a passing patrol car and physically violated officers back to the apartment, forcing them to look inside. The arrest of Jeffrey Dahmer was the result of a victim's sheer will to survive. Tracy Edwards broke the cycle that years of institutional safeguards had failed to catch. During the 1992 trial, the jury found Dahmer guilty and legally sane. The scale of the physical evidence and his meticulous planning proved he understood exactly what he was doing. He was sentenced to 16 consecutive life terms. In November 1994, after 2 years in the Columbia Correctional Institution, He was beaten to death by a fellow inmate. In the wake of the arrest, the 2 officers who returned Konerak to the apartment were fired, though one was later reinstated on appeal. The police department initiated internal reviews and implemented new protocols for handling vulnerable individuals. The trial served as a searing public audit of law enforcement and the justice system, exposing the institutional negligence behind the crime scene evidence. For the families left behind, the trauma was compound. They grieved the horrific loss of their sons and brothers, while living with the agonizing knowledge that intervention was possible, requested, and denied. Predatory evil does not exist in a vacuum. It requires camouflage to thrive. In this case, that camouflage was provided by institutions that did not value the lives of the victims enough to look closely. A society's safety is ultimately measured by how fiercely it protects its most vulnerable residents. 17 men and boys lost their lives. They were human beings with futures, silenced twice, first by the man who killed them, and second by a society that refused to listen.